The summit between President Trump and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un looking far from certain. Now the man who helped broker that meeting traveling halfway around the world to try and make sure it still happens. South Korean President Moon Jae-in will meet with President Trump tomorrow in Washington. The U.S. and North Korean leaders scheduled for a face-to-face meeting on June 12th. President Trump says the North must give up its nuclear weapons as part of any deal. And Pyongyang officials say they plan to destroy the country's nuclear testing facility this week. But analysts warn we've heard that from North Korea many times before. Let's bring in Tara Mahler. She's a senior policy advisor for the Counter-Extremism Project and a former military analyst at the CIA. Tara, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So last week, Kim threatened to pull out of the summit. Sounds like it's back on maybe.
Back on maybe, we'll see. I think the planning's underway. As of now, I'm optimistic that it will occur, but who really knows? We've had President Trump saying if it doesn't look like it's going to go in the direction of the United States, he might back out. You've had the North Koreans making claims over the past few weeks that the summit could be in jeopardy. I think you're seeing a little bit of posturing by both sides here. Hopefully, things will go smoothly. Hopefully, the United States will go into it prepared. Hopefully, we'll have an okay outcome or a positive one. What we don't want is for something to sort of go the wrong direction before we even get to the table, and we don't want the meeting to go poorly, or then we're really in a worse off place probably than where we are right now.
Well, one thing that has remained consistent is that everyone is preaching skepticism about any results from this meeting.
Absolutely, and I think there are reasons to be cautious. You always want parties to be talking, you want diplomacy to have a chance, but with the North Koreans, we've seen this playbook before. We've seen them make claims about compromises they might be willing to make, and we've seen them back off from those claims. We've also seen that the United States and the North Koreans have very different perceptions and definitions about what denuclearization entails, and I think the United States needs to make sure that when it goes into this summit that President Trump knows the ins and outs of the North Korean nuclear program and knows what the United States is and is not willing to budge on in any sort of compromise. Otherwise, we don't want an agreement reached that can't actually be backed up by either party or with the support of our allies.
Right. We have seen some goodwill gestures on the part of North Korea, releasing 3 captive Americans, and then apparently are going to allow journalists into that test site. But of course, journalists are not inspectors, so will they even know what to look for when they get in there?
You raised 2 good points there. So we've seen these conciliatory measures by the North Koreans, which are really important in the lead up to a summit to show good faith from both sides. Having said that, the North Koreans could also flip this on the United States and say, what has the United States given us? Or we already made these 2 gestures. And on the second gesture, which is potentially coming this week, the destroying of the nuclear facility, the underground facility, you're right, they're letting journalists in, but they're not really letting in the experts, the people with the verification know-how and expertise to really know if everything we think is being destroyed is actually being destroyed. North Koreans have been known to cheat on nuclear agreements in the past. They've been knowingly deceptive when it comes to their nuclear program. So, again, too early to say. I don't want to say they're not destroying anything with this, demonstration, propaganda demonstration this week. There might very well be some destroyed capacity, but they have other sites, and this is not really a significant portion of their nuclear program writ large.
Well, as you said, and as we continue to hear, denuclearization is the goal of this summit. Is there any other possible outcome that might satisfy the U.S.?
Sure. I think that there are different outcomes when we talk about denuclearization. I don't think you're going to see a scenario where they agree to give up everything in exchange for something that would be satisfactory in the meeting. But you might see perhaps a timetable with a phased denuclearization. So denuclearization would be the final result, but in the shorter term, there might be more specific and verifiable confidence-building measures, such as the destruction of certain types of missiles that could reach the United States or the shutting down of certain facilities. But again, this would be towards the ultimate goal, I think, of denuclearization, which is, frankly, I think what the United States is aiming for. It's just a matter of the timetable and what we're willing to give up, and if what we are willing to give up would be able to satisfy the North Koreans. And it's going to be difficult.
This is a historic sit-down. The first between a sitting U.S. president and a leader of North Korea. And many are crediting President Trump's personality and his unpredictability with forcing Kim's hand and making this meeting happen. But now you're going to have these 2 very strong personalities in one room together, and I wonder if that helps or hurts with coming to some sort of agreement.
I think it can honestly cut both ways. It's sort of high risk, high reward potential, but it's also high risk and very low reward, if not extremely high cost potential in this case, right? You have two volatile, unpredictable personalities who have never met before in an extremely high stakes summit. You could see everything go perfectly smoothly in sort of the photo op sense, but that begs the question of what actually happens after the summit when the nitty-gritty details get worked out, which is another scenario people haven't really spoken about. You know, all might be fine in front of the camera and there might be handshakes and things might seem rosy, but then if in 4 or 5, 6 months we don't actually see this all coming together in terms of the instrumental, framework on paper being carried out by officials both in North Korea and here with verification measures, then the meeting is just a meeting. So, I mean, I want to be optimistic. I want to believe we can reach some sort of positive conclusion, if not a positive development here. I mean, the worst case scenario here would be for something to go wrong in the meeting or in the lead up to the meeting, because then you might see them resume their missile testing like they were, just 5, 6, 7 months ago.
Sure. Well, anything could happen, right?
Anything could happen.
Tara Mahler, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.